the summer camp, native language summer camp, uh, was started to try to find ways to bring out the native language, to teach the native language back into our youth, to our youth of the community, because we are losing our language, Ojibwe language in the community. We never hear our youth speak the language in and out of school. That's community-wide. And it has been said that our language is in jeopardy. So we've been brainstorming, like, how are we going to reverse that? So, and then we came up with the summer camp, because we like to go out in the bush. Every chance we get, we will go. And my Aunt Marie, she's my go-to person. She'll be out there. She can live out there if she had a proper home, she always says. So I asked her if she would be willing to help, take out the kids, we could start a camp and take some youth out from families we're the target, and then the youth from 12 and up. We said that we could take 12 and up without their parents or guardian present, because but we needed consent forms, just in case if we should run into any problems. But anybody younger than that, we asked if there would be a guardian present. That was the, and it was the camp. When we had the camp, the kids liked it. We had from ages to, I think our youngest one there was 5 years old, and I think the oldest one we had there was like 17.
Did you have parents as well?
Yes, we had parents.
So how many in all came to that camp?
And with the Paddle for Wellness, we counted like 25 participants, including our camp director and supervisor and our elder as our teacher, and the camp helpers. And
so you paddled out to an island.
Yes, we
and
paddled.
Spent a whole week out there.
Yeah.
And only spoke the language, or was it? I'm sure it was a mixture.
It was mixture, but our elders spoke the language.
Only.
And then in order for the youth to fully understand what she was saying, we had to translate, because it had to do with, sharp, like cutting fish. You have to make sure they understand what they're doing, so they don't need to slice up their fingers or anything.
Right.
It had to do with safety.
Yes.
That's why Maureen was translating. Even with the wood cutting and the birch bark collecting, it involves the, using sharp axe, knife.
Right.
So they had to understand what was being said by our elder. But it was all there. It was visual. They watched her, and then they went ahead
And did it.
So
So it was a whole bunch of activities, like net setting, and catching the fish and cleaning the fish and gutting and cooking. And then what other activities, as you said, birch bark collecting and then making baskets?
Yeah.
And what else, what other activities did you?
Well, they did, Maureen took the time to do self-care.
Mm-hmm.
She took the young girls out
Mm-hmm.
to a private area and encourage them and talk to them about self-care.
Important.
Yeah, the importance
Yeah.
of changing, becoming a lady,
Mm-hmm.
the different stuff,
Mm-hmm.
the feeling that it'll be like when they when they
Mm-hmm.
start their time, I guess,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and the importance of taking care of themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So that's
Wonderful.
what they did.
Mm-hmm.
And then Maureen's husband, Angelo, took the time to do the same things for the male,
Mm-hmm.
for the boys. He took them out on a boat ride while they went to set the net and getting the net.
Mm-hmm.
So he had his time to tell them what to expect,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
the expectation of growing up into. So it was, I
Important.
found it very important for the boys
Mm-hmm.
to hear that
Mm-hmm.
from a person that has already been on that trail.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that was, I think that was important
Yeah, I think that
that
would. Yeah.
the boys heard it.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as the language goes, I found it was to be good.
Mm-hmm.
It was good. But it was just the only problem we experienced down there is that we didn't really get to go out paddling because of the waves and Mother Nature.
Mm.
Of course, we had no control over that,
Mm-hmm.
so we just did what we had to do within the camp.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But it was,
So yeah, so it sounds like the range of activities was broad,
Mhm.
and yeah, of course, Mother Nature had its way, but
Mhm.
but
Yeah.
that's part of the experience.
yeah.
Yeah, and then do you feel the kids, their language grew stronger, but through the week, at least their understanding of the language from hearing the elders and everybody speaking the language through the week? Do you have a sense of that?
I had some sense of that
Mm-hmm.
because they would, the girls mainly,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes they can hear them
Mm-hmm.
saying the words that, reflecting back to the words what the elder was saying.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I found that really, something's coming
Yeah.
to them.
Yeah.
And because they would speak
Mm-hmm.
mixed
Mhm.
English and Ojibwe. Like they would say, Ambe, that means come here. And that's what the elder usually said to them, Ambe wak,
Oh, cool.
come here. And then the girls would say, Ambe, Ambe, Wisanen,
Mm-hmm.
Kizizekwen,
Mm-hmm.
So that would be, Wisanen would be eat and cook would be Kizizekwen.
Great. So they learned.
So they learned, they mixed it in there with
Mhm.
their vocabulary, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And what other measures of success, in addition to that, feeling that they were grasping the words and understanding more of the language? Was there, was it just an all-around wonderful time to be out in the bush with them, and they just loved being out there? Like, how would you measure the feeling that was generated from the camp? Do you feel that it was a good experience? Aside, yes, the language was one part of it, but just the learning through the doing and being together out on the land did you feel like people came away with good feelings?
I do believe they did, because we paddled home. Like We passed only some of the girls and some of the kids came on a boat motor,
Mm-hmm.
but the older group we paddled up, and at that time, that's when we had our one-on-one moments with my crew,
Mm-hmm.
and then I just kept encouraging them, about just keep going, about our language and life.
Mm-hmm.
Life throws unexpected curveballs, but that doesn't mean we need to go.
Mm-hmm.
We need to stay down there. We just go back up, and
Mm-hmm.
that goes with the language too.
Mm-hmm.
You don't know any words. Now is a good time to learn it. You have a young mind,
Mm-hmm.
very curious and active brain that can store the language
Mm-hmm.
back into your system,
Mm-hmm.
your head, and
Mm-hmm.
you can be using it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's, and when we got here back into the community, that following week we had what they call summer festival,
Mm-hmm.
and and the girls participated in that long Iron teen.
Mm-hmm.
So I found that really, they were encouraged, like they were willing to take on whatever they wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the sense I got.
Mm-hmm.
Even with the older group, the HSS crew that were there, participants, there was a couple that stayed there extra week.
Oh yeah.
They didn't want to come home. So we left everything to them,
Mm-hmm.
our food, and they kept the HSS workers stayed extra week while we
Wow.
got the kids home, the
Nice.
younger group.
Mm-hmm.
So I found it was really, I think that was something we need in the community.
Mm-hmm.
It was just like a refreshing
Mm-hmm.
time. Well, that's what the couple said. The older adults that were there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It was time for them to reflect what they need to do to survive.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
I found it very
Good.
something we need.
Yeah. And when you were, just one other question on that, you said when you were talking and encouraging the campers on the way back and say, keep this up and it'll come to you, and as you say, curious minds. Did they share any feedback with you on the week? Did they have reflections to share about the week with you? Any comments that you can recall that they made?
What I did towards the end of the camp was I had a questionnaire filled out.
Mm.
I had them sent them off to be on their own and reflect back to the week and start writing down. I gave them 4 questions to think about, and then just write whatever their favorite part and what they would like to see, and did they like the camp, and they all said yes.
Mm-hmm.
Do you enjoy your camp?
Mm-hmm.
What was the best part of the camp?
Mm-hmm.
And then they said the fish cutting, cleaning, birch bark basket, the swimming, all that.
Mm-hmm.
So
Great.
they pretty much,
Great.
yeah.
Wonderful.
And what then I asked them there what the improvements, how can we improve the program?
Mm-hmm.
And they said that there wasn't really much feedback on that one,
Mm-hmm.
but they just said
Because it
do
was so great.
Yeah, they just said like to do it again.
Mm-hmm.
Something, that's what one of the girls said to me when we were paddling back. She said that she wouldn't mind doing this time to time over the summer,
Mm-hmm.
just to get away,
Mm-hmm.
get a paddling or a canoe trip going.
Mm-hmm.
So
Good. So good. It was a success.
I found that, yeah, because we used to do that to the girls, with the girls back then.
Mm-hmm.
We used to go out for a canoe trip. But we haven't been doing that until the summer camp.
Right. So yeah, and the key was also having to fundraise to make sure that you had the supplies that you needed and the food that you needed and the equipment, and that was probably the hardest part of the whole thing, right?
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
It's the hardest part because we don't have, we have lack of funds.
Mm-hmm.
Like pretty much what we do, what we have to do. Well, personally, what I do around with my family and my area is I pretty much supply everything.
Mm-hmm.
But when we go out onto the land, I pretty much supply the food we need and the equipment we need.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But like I said before, I don't mind doing that because I want the kids to learn,
Right.
to be out there.
Mm-hmm.
And when we go out on our canoe trips, sometimes we have 8 canoes.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm thankful, I don't have to pay the rent for my canoe I used.
Mm-hmm.
I use it. But sometimes when the other youth know when we're going out, they want to tag along.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So you see, that's where we're lacking on.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
The equipment.
Yep.
I can take as many as I want, but we have to pay
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
$10 a day.
Mm-hmm.
And we take 7 other canoes, that's $70 a day.
Mm-hmm.
Normally that'll come from my pocket, but sometimes it'll come from the parent
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
because
Yeah.
lack of
Right.
resources.
Right.
So
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well. Okay. Anything else you want to say about the program in general and the Native Summer Language Camp? Native Language Summer Camp.
I would like for it to keep,
Mm-hmm.
to just keep running.
Mm-hmm.
Make a really good, a good camp, comfortable camp. And I'm not saying they were they liked it out in, their tent, their dome tents.
Mm-hmm.
They maintained their tent.
Mm-hmm.
The kids maintained their tent because that's what the elder encouraged them to do.
Mm-hmm.
Your home is very important, so you need to maintain it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what they did.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I would like to see it up and running again.
Yeah. Yeah.
We made sure we were in cell phone range, and we had one cell phone there. The kids weren't allowed to be on their iPods. They had their time in the evening and a quiet downtime.
Mm-hmm.
They told them, you can be on your iPod, but only for a certain amount of time.
Mm-hmm.
So technology wasn't.
Good. Yeah, that's a good point too.
Yeah. They weren't allowed to.
Mm-hmm.
We made sure they understood that
Mm-hmm.
before we went.
Yeah, that's good.
The only person that had a cell phone was Maureen.
Mm-hmm.
We either call her from here or she calls
Right.
if they needed anything.
Right.
So that was our number one rule.
Mm-hmm.
No, they
Good.
weren't.
Good.
Only for photos,
Mm-hmm.
keepsake.
Mm-hmm.
They were allowed to do that. So
Great.
I usually hear my aunt saying "Gikinomagewin."
Mm-hmm.
That means teaching.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I would say Anishinaabe Gikinomagewin.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Anishinaabe teaching.
Okay.
That's basically what I've been hearing.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess that's what we've been doing. I would like to, in 10 years, my vision is that, watching and hearing the children and the youth speaking Ojibwe language in our community, running around the community. That would be awesome. That would be like we're getting somewhere, like, 'cause and more, I guess, more resource buildings to do activities on daily basis, not just for the youth, for the whole, for the family-oriented community, you know, resource buildings, and to provide for the resources like translated in Ojibwe, words to be translated, and just to keep it an ongoing thing that can go into the homes of the children.
What do you mean by resource buildings? Is it a structure?
Yeah.
Okay. And they, so like to have teaching resources so people can access?
Yes.
And then, and as you say, bring them home to work with a family, on a family, within the family unit.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is what I was saying. If I were to do evening native language courses to the and open it to the community, I have done that. And the one thing I think that would help is babysitting. Get funds so the parents can come. But it's just lack of babysitting. And the other thing too is, if I were to get funds, I would give honorarium to the participants. You know, I would pay them to come learn their native language. Reason why I say that is, back when we started this community, when we came into Thord Hope, I remember my parents, my dad, it was my dad, that was in that adult education program that was in the community here. He got paid to learn English from Indian Affairs. He did that throughout the winter, adult education program. Pretty much like every male in the community, there was rarely any females in that, from what I can remember. So I was saying that why not do it the way that Indian Affairs did it, to introduce the English language to the adults. Why not ask Indian Affairs if they can pay our youth to come and learn Ojibwe language, just like what they did to our parents when we first came into the reserve, because we were fluently in Ojibwe back then. But now, probably 5% still speak Ojibwe. But the youth rate, probably 5 or 2% maybe. So that's what I was thinking. That's what I would like to see. I would like to see the building. I think for me anyway, a good time to do some really good learning is when you're doing something
with your hands,
and then you're here. That's why when we had our craft nights here at the JCY school, I invited our elders. My aunties always came, and they would talk while we're sewing. We can hear them. And then that's what I encouraged the young girls that came to join. Just listen to them talk. Although you don't understand, just listen. Some words you will pick up
Mhm.
while they're sewing.
Mhm.
So they did that. It was kind of, peaceful. And
Mhm.
even the young ones, the youngest one we had here in our craft night was 5 years old.
Mhm.
And they enjoyed it.
Mhm.